Hello and welcome to your Wildcat News for Tuesday, November 4th. I'm Emily Hardiman-Urbar.
And I'm Colin Lewis. As you can see, it's election day, but not here in Kentucky.
That's right, Colin. Both federal and city elections during even years in Kentucky. The Commonwealth does not have an election in the year following a presidential election. The next time Kentucky will participate is in next year's midterms when all 6 representatives will be up for election. Also, Senator Mitch McConnell is retiring and his seat will be filled with a new senator.
But there are a lot of elections going on throughout the rest of the country. Regular voting begins today in the New York City mayoral race. Early voting ended with record-breaking turnout. Zoran Mamdani, the Democratic primary winner, has been leading polls by double digits consistently, but the gap between him and runner-up Andrew Cuomo has closed in recent days. Last night, President Trump endorsed Cuomo, who is running as a third-party candidate instead of Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa. Numerous other cities, including Atlanta, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Detroit, are also holding mayoral elections today. In Cincinnati, incumbent Mayor Aftab Pureval is seeking a second term, facing challenger Corey Bowman, the half-brother of Vice President J.D. Vance. Political observers say this contest could signal how Midwestern cities balance growth with public safety and concerns about cost of living. UK students from the area are keeping an eye on what is happening back home.
I think it's hard to stay engaged and aware of what's going on, but I definitely still care about it. And I think Ohio makes it really easy to vote even if you're not local.
In Atlanta, incumbent Mayor Andre Dickens faces 4 challengers as the city weighs issues like affordable housing. In Detroit, candidates are campaigning on revitalization and job growth, while Minneapolis voters will decide whether to keep Mayor Jacob Frey or shift towards a more progressive agenda under State Senator Omar Fateh. Other major cities, including Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Jersey City, are also electing mayors this fall.
For many University of Kentucky students, Election Day means mailing an absentee ballot instead of heading to the polls. For instance, students from Virginia can help elect a new governor this year. Democratic Representative Abigail Spanberger faces Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, guaranteeing the first female governor of the state of Virginia. Virginia ballot also includes races for Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General, positions that help set state policy on education, crime, and health care. The race for governor is also on in New Jersey, while Pennsylvania voters will decide 3 Supreme Court seats, a judicial race that could affect future decisions on voting rights and redistricting. For students voting by mail, it's a reminder that even from Lexington, their voices still can help shape the states that they call home.
Just from being away, I see a lot about Kentucky's government and things that happen in Kentucky, but I still like to stay involved with everything back in Pittsburgh and back at home, because even though I'm here, my home is still there and I still care about it.
Another issue millions of voters are focused on is redistricting. Voters in California are poised to approve Proposition 50, a bill that would redraw the state's congressional districts to heavily favor Democrats and cut the amount of Republican representatives roughly in half. This bill comes as a response to Texas taking similar action favoring Republican representatives. 6 in 10 Californians approve of this measure, but the support breaks sharply upon party lines. Here at the University of Kentucky, students shared their thoughts on what this means going forward.
It's a big problem, I feel, the fact that we have to kind of section out different areas to kind of make it more favorable to one side or the other. I feel that that kind of reduces kind of the point of democracy.
I think you're going to see a rise of gerrymandering in the United States, whether that be for good or for bad. I think you'll definitely start seeing people try to do it in Kentucky. I can't guarantee that that's going to happen here, but I think there's definitely going to be attempts made.
Numerous other states, such as Indiana, are considering redistricting, while some states like Ohio are already approving new congressional maps. After the newly drawn lines are implemented, Republicans are expected to hold an advantage of 12 in 15 of Ohio's congressional districts, up from 10 the previous years.
A Supreme Court case out of Louisiana has potential to reshape the Voting Act. The Voting Act bans conditions that could weaken minority voter power. If the court weakens Sections 2, it could make it harder to prevent discriminatory election laws. Several states, including California, Illinois, and New York, are passing their own state voting rights acts to protect voters in their communities. The court heard arguments in the case this past October, with a ruling expected by summer of 2026.
Political conversation was also sparked throughout campus yesterday with peaceful protests on free speech and abortion.
Peyton Dybowski joins us with that story.
There were multiple protest and politically motivated discussions on campus yesterday while students were going to and from class. Viewer discretion is advised due to the images on some of the protesters' signs. In the main part of campus, near the under construction Whitehall classroom building, students were faced with signage and handouts discouraging them from getting an abortion. Many stopped to have conversations with these protesters. Others yelled things as they walked by or had conversations about the subject to themselves or with friends. Student Colby Wool shared how the protests made her feel.
Sure, I think it's a little more contained now and more, like respectful on a campus atmosphere now that there's police around. So that definitely is a little more comforting than the past couple years. I think that at the end of the day, you can choose to speak if you want to, and if not, I would just walk away respectfully. And if you really feel threatened, go talk to one of the officers or find the nearest building on campus and find a trusted person to help you out.
This isn't the first time students have been faced with protesters during class hours. The peaceful bluegrass resistance also led a walk around campus yesterday to, quote, show our support for UK faculty, staff, and students who are feeling pressured by President Capelluto and the Board of Trustees to remain silent in the face of increasingly authoritarian controls on free speech and other constitutional rights. End quote. The group was founded in February to raise awareness of the limitations of constitutional rights under the current presidential administration. The organization says it has held over 250 protests since that time. In other campus news, the College of Communication and Information held their organization fair this past Monday at their new home, Pence Hall. The fair hosted several notable organizations for students to learn more about, like the Kentucky Colonel and the Gren Associates. There were several tables for students to have conversations with members of the organizations they are interested in. There were also free treats and drinks for students who enjoyed while they browsed. It was a great way for CI students to know what they could get involved in on campus. And now with news from around the world, here's Reese Durham.
Category 5 Hurricane Melissa battered Jamaica over fall break, leaving the death toll at 65 and rising. The hurricane, the biggest to ever hit Jamaica on record, made landfall on October 27th. The storm moved slowly, causing the damage to be more catastrophic because of the prolonged exposure to the wind and rain. In the aftermath, 70 to 80% of homes were reported to be without power. Relief efforts have also been difficult as some communities lost communication and several roads were blocked by landslides and debris. Amid a brutal struggle and humanitarian crisis in Sudan, labeled by UN investigators as a genocide, the Sudanese parliamentary group known as the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, has taken the city of El Fasher, the last stronghold of the country's current regime. For more than a year, the RSF has surrounded El Fasher and battled the Sudanese armed forces in an effort to seize remaining territory in Darfur. Estimates suggest that more than 150,000 people have been killed and more than 14 million displaced since the start of the conflict in April 2023. As the RSF moves in, refugees report mass killings, sexual assaults, and widespread violence. Israel has received the remains of what Hamas claims to be 2 hostages held in Gaza. The remains were transferred via the Red Cross and will be taken in for identification. If confirmed, that would leave the bodies of 11 hostages unaccounted for. This exchange comes a day after Israel launched a series of strikes, killing over 100 Palestinians. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he approved the strikes because Hamas has killed an Israeli soldier and allegedly staged the discovery of a deceased hostage. Hamas denied those claims. The Public Defender's Office of Rio de Janeiro reports that more than 130 people were killed in a massive police raid, the largest ever carried out by the country of Brazil. 4 police officers were killed alongside at least 128 civilians. This operation, which mobilized over 2,500 agents from state security forces, was the result of more than a year of investigations conducted by the Drug Enforcement Division. Prince Andrew, brother to King Charles, was stripped of his royal titles this past week after evidence of continuous association with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. He will also be denied any association with his military titles and will be forced to move from his current home. His ex-wife Sarah Ferguson will also be stripped of her title of Duchess of York. However, his children Beatrice and Eugenie will retain their princess titles. While having no royal titles to his name, the former prince is still in line for succession. Any effort to remove him will have to be done by Parliament. And now, with some lighter news, here's Anthony with sports.
Being a member of any athletic program means sacrificing things like time with family, and it is no different for the members of the media covering the team. UK men's basketball acknowledged this by hosting a family media day. Members of the media and their families were invited to ask questions at a presser and watch a practice inside of Rep Arena. Husbands, wives, children, and grandchildren got to ask Coach Pope questions, and then the families flooded into the stands to watch the team run a full practice. After practice, the team took time to autograph and meet everyone in attendance. So what an experience from the Wildcats. And over here with our family in the studio, our very own Lee K. Howard and his family was in attendance for Family Media Day. His daughter Meg was asked to step up and shoot a free throw to save the team from running sprints. Only on her second attempt did she sink the shot. And everyone here at the Wildcat News family is proud of Meg, and we are looking forward to her future basketball commitment to UK. In more UK men's basketball news, the Wildcats play their first game of the season tonight. They will play Nichols in Rupp Arena at 7 p.m., but there is still no update on if Jalen Lowe and Denzel Aberdeen are cleared to play tonight. So it'll be another game time decision for the Cats that we are anxiously waiting on. Yesterday, Kenny Brooks and the Wildcats opened their season with a 75-59 win versus Morehead State. BBN showed up in Memorial with 4,024 fans in attendance. The night started off rough for the Cats, shooting 2 of 8 from 3 in the first quarter. But after a quick scoring run, Kentucky grabbed the lead and held it for 32 minutes straight. 2 players that came up big were Jordan Obie and Clara Strack, who put up identical box scores. Both scored 15 points and 15 rebounds in the win. The Cats now have a 12-0 record versus the Beakers all time. And here's what Coach Kenny Brooks had to say about his team's win.
So I know where we want to be, and I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, and I'm just going to make sure that we understand the little things that we have to do to get to where we want to get to. And right now, I can't really tell the positives, and other than we won the basketball game. Rebounding, we got rebounding.
This was just the first of 29 more games the team will play this year, and we'll be keeping a close eye on them here at Wildcat News. But another story that caught our eyes was a nail-biter at the New York City Marathon on Sunday. 2 runners from Kenya were neck and neck at the finish line of the 26.2-mile race, making it the closest finish in the event's history. The top 2 men crossed the line just seconds apart, both finishing with the time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 9 seconds. On the women's side, Kenya's Helen Obiri took first place and made history in the process. She set a new course record with a time of 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 51 seconds. The first, second, and third place finishers in both the men's and women's races were all from Kenya. And there were also inspiring stories, including a blind woman and a man with 2 prosthetic legs who both completed the race.
Now that AJ's done yapping about sports, let's talk about some fun news.
When did you get here?
Doesn't matter, but what does matter is that the full moon is as close as it can be to Earth this week, marking the closest supermoon of 2025. Supermoons hang low and appear big and bright on the horizon, especially just after sunset. The moon will reach peak fullness at 8:19 a.m. tomorrow morning. According to the Farmer's Almanac, November's supermoon marks the time when some of the first snow appears in the northern parts of the United States and Canada. The next supermoon arrives in exactly 1 month on December 4th. And on more of an important note, People's Magazine has finally named their 2025 Sexiest Man Alive.
There were many worthy candidates, but only one winner.
And the winner was actor Jonathan Bailey. The Wicked and Bridgerton star is likely to be the first publicly out gay person to receive the award. This is the 14th edition of People's Sexiest Man Alive. The first honor was given to Mel Gibson back in 1985.
You know, me personally, I think Colin and I should have been nominated for that award, but...
Well, you can keep on dreaming of that.
What I will be dreaming about is our next show, because that is all for Wildcat News this week. To keep up with the latest news and updates, follow us on Instagram at Wildcat News UKY.
We'll see you next Tuesday at 1 on Twitch for more. Have a great week.